Hello there, welcome again. Welcome to Technology Innovation Hub again, right? So this time we are going to start the very first video session on DevOps channel, right? So at the moment we have recordings there in Oracle Portal and Microservices and Generic Portal. So here comes the very first session on DevOps Portal. Fine, right? So let's get started, right away, DevOps. Right? So it's going to be a very interesting topic, right? A lot of hands-on going to come, right? So, and the very first session is going to be the overview, right? So about the industry overview, right? So, and I mean, you can just put the step one of your DevOps career with this session, right? Okay, let's start. Let me share my screen. This is what welcome to DevOps Doorway or the portal session one, innovation in software development. So yes, I mean DevOps, right? It has done a revolution, it has done a change, a kind of a transformation in software development, enterprise software development, right? Now, because we know clients, they are demanding, right, rapidly, right? The demand is higher than the old days because the competition is very high. So they need to innovate quickly with the new features of their, right? I mean, the software, so that their business processes will get faster and efficiency, accuracy will go up, right? So as organizations, as business institutes, they want to innovate, so the demand for quick resolutions, right? Quick delivery of new features, new releases, right? So to address this, it is not time. It's difficult to address this with traditional pace, traditional software development life cycle. So DevOps is addressing those things. So let's see in more detail, right? So DevOps is ready to add, I mean, quick delivery with high quality. Okay, let's see in detail. Right? Just give an industrial, yeah, this session is going to be an overview about the overall DevOps industry, which segments, what is going to be, what are the challenges, what are the benefits, right? And as a, I mean, how can we start DevOps? Start with DevOps with your career, right? So what are the different roles in DevOps, right? CI/CD pipelines, a lot of things, infrastructure as code, there are a lot of things, right? Now, how to start career with DevOps? That's what I just mentioned. Future sessions will go on with hands-on. Yes, this session, this introductory, right, industry overview, and right after this session, we are going to start with hands-on, right? I'll tell you that in more detail at the end of this presentation, okay? Let's start right away with the presentation. Let me start with that, right? Yes, okay. So DevOps, as you can see, transforming the enterprise software development culture. It's a broad meaning, right? Transforming the enterprise software development culture. There has been a culture in enterprise software development, right? As IT organizations fit into software development, software services, right? And they have development teams, right? Dev team, they have the QA team, testing team, and they have the BAs, business analysts, right? So likewise, and the operations team. So likewise, we have these teams separately. So I mean, when a project comes, right? When the project comes to delivery, you know, there's certain phases are there. I mean, when the RFPs and everything done, then SOW will sign, right? Those things will happen. Then the things will start with business cases, right? BS. BS has to get the requirements correctly. I very clearly the requirements, right? Then what's going to happen? Those requirements will be given to dev team, right? With proper grooming, with proper explanation, with proper use cases, business cases, is going to give to the dev team, right? And there's a project manager, which is Scrum Master, right? And so that's going to be maybe if it is agile project, right? Then what's going to happen? The dev team will be going on development cycles of 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. Likewise, it depends on the demand, right? So if it is 2 weeks development cycle, what's going to happen? Every 2 weeks, there will be a release going to be. Then what's going to happen once the dev team finish up the release is going to the QA team for quality testing. Then this bugs and defect fixing and those things will come because they are going to test your code, test the developer's code, the test cases, right, to catch the issues. Right? Then after that is going to be the UAT, use acceptance testing, right? That's going to be, I mean, this is just before going to the production release, and we need to test it further, user whether as per the requirement, whether it is as per the requirement, right? And after that, what's going to happen? Then it's come to the deployment in production. Then there will be operations team appointed, so the team will be deployed. I mean, collection. There will be multiple members, right? From a few guys from Dev, few guys from QA, likewise. So there will be a team, right? There will be team, the database team, network team, likewise, OS support, a lot of things. So operations team. So they are going to deploy it to the, they're going to deploy it to the production. So this is the traditional way of doing software development. Now I am telling it traditional because we have a new culture. New culture has been emerged and it has been there for a certain time in the market. Now it's becoming mature, the DevOps culture, right? So actually we have many issues in this software development traditional method, right? Because we'll come to in more detail because this is in the first slide we are in. So, okay, let's continue, right? So this is about DevOps, right? So this is DevOps. So what is DevOps? You can see a collaboration between the development and operation team. So as I mentioned earlier, no more silos. There is no specific team called dev team, operations team, right? And the testing team, QA team. There are no teams like that. All collaborate together to achieve a common goal, right? So the goal will be to get an outcome of a high quality deliverable. That is the main goal actually, right? Main goal. So all works collaboratively towards that goal, right? Quick delivery, high quality with very accuracy, right? Okay. So that is actually DevOps in a nutshell. It is a new culture, new way of working. The mindset has to be changed. Let's talk about the more details in the coming slides. And here you can see that's I just mentioned the middle part. So you can see now the same options are same steps are there. If you just take a look at it closely, plan, the requirements, code, dev team code, and the build, yes, the release, test, then the release goes out, deploy, operation team does that, and take a look what's happening in the production after deploy, the monitoring. So for any issues coming in, okay. So cycle is going on, but it's a different way, not in a traditional way. So what makes the difference? Mainly the automation. The automation will make the difference. Not like earlier, not the dev team is, doing their development and giving the packages, sit and go to the QA team for testing. Not that way. This is a automation of the entire cycle of software development, right? Entire cycle means starting from the dev actually, not from the BA, right? BA still has to give the atomic requirement. If you want, you can automate the BA part as well using in combining with Jira, right? But that is a later phase that we need to discuss. For the time being, we start the DevOps cycle with a dev, right? Where as soon as the dev checks in the code for the source code repository, where your code is stored, the repository, right? Maybe Git, right? There are a lot of things. There are a lot of source code repositories available. Git is the most popular, right? Okay, right. So that's the place where Git starts. So how this automation is possible? The automation is possible if you look at the outside of this picture. The middle part is what I just explained, and if you look at around the square box, right? What are these? All are tools, right? So there are more than 1,000 tools in DevOps environment. So these tools together which make this possible to take this automation. So this infrastructure has to be built prior to starting the real DevOps environment. We need to have the infrastructure with all of these tools in place in the right places. So that infrastructure is known as, in a one word, CI/CD pipeline. CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous delivery. Actually, these stand for two things, right? Delivery and deployment. So we have CI, that is continuous integration, CD, continuous delivery and deployment, right? So this pipeline, what is going to make this automation possible, right? So let's discuss in more detail, right? So so these tools have to come in place. For example, the developer initially checks in code for source. Maybe you have GitLab, right? You have Git, right? The source code repository. Initially commit the code for the with this relevant feature branch. Like we have the master branch and feature branches. Each developer works in their own branch, right? So just make the commit for his branch, right? Then that commit will trigger something. We will discuss in more detail. It triggers something called build, right? So then there has to be actually a build server. Let's say Jenkins is our build server, and the code inspection should happen, right? Code quality should happen, quality testing. These all we are tools. Earlier, with the traditional software development cycle, these all human involvement was there to do the manual testing. You know, the QA team like to do the testing manually, use writing test cycles, right? But now I can tell you example, SonarQube. SonarQube is another SonarQube is a code inspection tool, right? We have Selenium. Selenium is one of the most famous QA testing tool, right? So actually, before come to the QA, the code test, code inspection has to happen via SonarQube. We'll talk about those things in detail, right? Right. So about these tools, very important. So let's visit here. Visit the periodic table of tools. Right? Let's go to this site. You look at this one. Okay, let's go here. Now, what is this? This is from actually Digital AI. Previously, this company was known as CBA Labs. Right? CBA Labs very recently they renamed into Digital AI. This is the URL Digital AI / periodic tables. Right? You can just Google it, get it, right? And this is a nice way of representing all the DevOps tools. You can see it's a very classic way of demonstrating, right? And they have very nicely categorized. If I highlight here, let's say, okay, let's say I want to highlight our source code repository. Let's go to the source control management, very first one, source control. So you can see once I click, once I no need to click even, once I point here, the relevant color will be highlighted right there. Now you can see I highlighted here. So if I highlight other one, it will get changed. I am highlighting this one. So you can see the source code management tools. Where your code is going to reside, right? Git is one of them. We have GitHub, right? Yes, GitLab, all are different, right? Atlassian by Bitbucket, yes, and we have more things, right? So those are the things. The most popular, very first three are the most popular at the moment, right? Okay, right. So that is for source code repository. If you take a look at another one, let's say continuous integration, CI tools, right? This is something called build server, right? If you come on the bottom, actually, you can see CI server. So you can see the very first one is Jenkins, right? Jenkins, the most popular Jenkins. Not only Jenkins, there are other things popular. If you take a look at here, Sure DevOps, some cloud, right? So, and we have GitLab CI, yes, popular. Travis, Circle CI, all are popular. Maven build, yes. Right. So Atlassian, Bamboo, yes. So we have a lot of build tools available. AWS code build. Yeah, we have actually it's Google is missing. Yeah, Gradle also they are Gradle and Maven. Yeah, Maven actually Gradle is a build tool. Maven is a build management tools as well as a build tool both, right? But yeah, there are differences in each other. So we don't have Google one. It's okay, fine, right? So there are a lot of things, but here the most popular ones are listed, right? And artifact management. You can see we know what is artifact, build artifacts. Let's say if you run a Java program, right? And at the end of the build, you will get the jar file and the war file. So those are your end result of your build, that is artifacts, right? So we need to store the artifacts somewhere, right? And unless you Dockerize the things, you can go to the Docker images in the Docker repository, but yet artifact tree will be there, right? Artifact means the jar and wars in case of a jar, right? So we have the most popular JFrog artifact is there, right? And we have Sonatype, Docker Hub, Yarn, Slack, right? Google Cloud, no, that is not artifact. Artifact is only these things, right? Blue, you have JFrog like this, and yeah, the most, that's another most popular one which is missing here, no? With JFrog's, it's another one. Anyway, right? So JFrog is one of the most popular, right? Okay. So likewise, so what I just want to tell you, one of the very good ways to represent these tools, right? And if you have containerization, deployment tools, a lot of things, right? Let's go into details later, right? And if we just take a look at only this one, containers, we have, here we go, Kubernetes, right? Docker, let's talk about more detail later. We have more practical to do in here, Helm charts, right? Deployments with YAML, and okay, so scaffold deployments, a lot of things are there. GitOps operations, Kubernetes, a lot of things are to do with DevOps. It's a very interesting topic actually, a very interesting area, DevOps, right? Okay, so let's take a look at it. I'm going to go back to the presentation. Yeah. Okay. You go to the next one. Now, this is what I was explaining, the traditional software development life cycle. So you can see the BAs are coming up with the requirements as per the client demand, right? So the requirements will be there. Then grooming needs the explanations for the dev team on in case how to start to get for them to get a more clarity on the requirements, right? The features, right? The epics and the stories will come into play. We don't need to go to that much of project management terminology here, right? But grooming is that give an understanding of what needs to be developed, the clarity on the requirement, right? Grooming. Then what's going to happen, the dev team will come up with the releases, right? They're going to, at the end of, let's say, the project management, the agile is going to be 2 weeks cycle, release cycle. So every 2 weeks, they're going to be released. It's going to come up, right? So then that release will be going to war zone, right? I have put it on red, light red, radium red. The reason is the war zone, right? Who is this? Operations team, right? So they are definitely war. Oh yeah, I mean, people who are working in the project environment know what this war is all about. Why is the war? Because the operations team, they are worried about the business, right? They need to keep the business running, operations team, or they are worried about whether it's going to be this service is going to be down, that service is going to be down, whether the P1 ticket is going to raise, P2 ticket is going to raise, right? P3 is P4s, yeah, they will handle, but they don't want P2s to happen because of system outages. So that's why stability. Their priority is stability. Operations teams, higher priority is stability. They need to give the high availability, maintain, always up and running. But the dev team, no, they want new features. How can I push this feature immediately to the operations? Right? How can I give the latest requirement for the business as they are demanding? So that's why these two teams actually going in opposite directions. These people, maybe they are going on right side, these people, they are going on left side. So it's very difficult for them to get a handshake in and come to agreement and do the deployment successfully. So because they are worried about downtime, these people worried about, no, we want to get the new features. Okay. So anyway, ultimately they will come to a conclusion and go for the deployment, but this is always there. Because whatever the testing in practically we know, the people, resources who are working in those environments, they know how many testings you do, right? How many QA testing, how many UAT testing you do. Ultimately, there's going to be something wrong in the production deployment. That's the nature. That's the nature. So we need to pace that. So anyway, so that is the traditional the software development life cycle, right? And here, agile. I mentioned this one. It's agile project management technique, and we have the separate teams: BA, development team, operation team. So DevOps culture means collaboration between these two, which is really they are on the next. This is the DevOps culture. Now, if you closely take a look at the differences with DevOps, you don't have these barriers. You can see the grooming. There's nothing like that. The war zone is missing. There's no war zone here because all the teams collaboratively working to achieve a single goal, which is a high quality deliverable. right? That is what DevOps, right? So therefore, for example, from this in the requirement side, well-defined business requirement is not just requirements, right? With high clarity, atomic requirement has to be there for dev team to start working with. Because what's going to happen is a continuous integration, continuous deliverable. It's not like earlier, it's not going to take 2 weeks for a deliverable to come out. There is always something deployable. That's why continuous integration. As the developer commits in their feature branch, then it's go to the, with the pull request, it will merge up with the master branch. But these things are going to happen continuously, right? So then what's going to happen? We will talk more details later. And you are going to have always something which is ready to be deployed. So that's why now we don't say in DevOps it is going to be project management. Now in traditional software development cycle, release cycle will come in 2 weeks. That means it might take 1 month for a deployment to take place because of these issues. So that's why we are telling is project management. Traditional software development cycle is known as a project management. But in DevOps, you are going to have product management. Why is that? There is always something deliverable is available with DevOps, because in the staging server, there's something ready to be deliverable always. You will understand what I'm telling in detail just in a while, right? For the time being, just try to get the idea. And the dev team, what's going to happen? They're going to have deliverables. Now, here I have changed that word. Here is release cycle. So better not to say release cycle. Of course, it's a release, but it's going to happen continuous integration, continuous deliverable. It's known as a tag deliverable. The proper tagging has to happen. So that deliverable, instead of telling it's going to be released, deployed to the deployed to the production. We can't say operations team. There is no longer a team called operations separately. All works in a collaborative culture, right? So the deployment will go to the production right away, right? In the middle, you're going to have a staging server. Upon the approval of the customer client, we can do the deployment. That's true, right? Or if they like, without the approval, if the pipeline is working so smoothly, right away it can go to the production. We'll do the pipeline practically and see how it happens. We can visualize it, right? By doing a very basic pipeline, and later you can go to advanced practical, right? Okay, so here you can see another thing. You can see this arrow. What it says, the operations team always talks ideas, share the ideas, what's happening, what needs to be done. Likewise with the dev team. So that's why it's collaboration, right? So it's not going to be war or nothing. So collaborative culture. Now you can see the DevOps culture in place here. Agile is anyway there with the business requirements, right? So that is very basically to get the idea about how the DevOps is going to take place, right? So if you have any questions, we need further explanations, you can put in the channel comments, right? And I have given the email address as well, right? So, but don't worry, this is the overview, right? Don't worry, this is the overview. So you don't try to get everything here, but just get the idea. You should be, by now, you should be getting the difference, right? So when you do the practicals, hands-on, if you deploy the CI/CD pipeline with hands-on, you get the real understanding, real feeling of what it really looks like, right? Okay, let's go to the next slide. So this is what technical aspect, phase 1, part 1. Actually, this picture is not talking about any technical. Initially I mentioned something called infrastructure, a pipeline. To start with DevOps, we need the CI/CD, continuous integration deployment pipeline in place, right? So there is something technical, but this is actually the project management aspect of it, or the product management aspect of it, this picture. So let's try to take a look at the technical aspect as well, right? So before looking at the technical aspect, very first thing you need to understand what is this CI/CD is. So I have already told you. There is like the definition. Continuous integration, CI, the practice of continuously merging code changes done by developers. Continuously merging code changes, right? This is not a manual one, this is automated. The build server will take care of it, like Jenkins, most popular, right? Okay. Or GitOps, or GitLab, right? You can do it in that way. Or code build, code commit. right? In AWS or Azure DevOps, will take care. Continuously integrate. Then what is continuous deployment? Continuous deployment means the practice of frequently deploying the code changes to production. Remember, frequently deploying the code changes to production, maybe upon approval. Then continuous delivery means the practice of continuously maintaining code in a deliverable state. That's what I told you. There is always something ready to be delivered in DevOps. So this is maybe the staging server. The integration takes place. It comes to the staging server. So in staging server, always there is something ready to be deployable, ready to be deployed, which is known as a delivery, the next version. Okay, properly tagged. This containerization, you are going to have images, Docker images properly tagged to be orchestrated in a maybe Kubernetes cluster. We'll talk those in detail later. Right? Hope you got the definition. So now let's jump into the pipeline. Now you can see I have given a very basic pipeline for you to get the idea properly. Now these are the tools in the pipeline, a very basic step. In the production pipeline, we have more steps than this, but this is a very basic one. The Git is, that is where your code is going to reside, right? Your SCM, source code management, right? And code inspection, as I mentioned, as the code checks in, the inspection has to take place with SonarQube tool, right? It's a tool, very popular tool, SonarQube. Then the code quality has to be tested with Selenium. In between, the software composition analysis, security should come in, right? If DevSecOps in place. If DevSecOps in place, those things also will come here, right? Then the build artifact. So Jenkins is going to manage the build part. So up to here, it's going to be the CI actually, continuous integration. Now here, what I have mentioned, you can see the mask in normally in repositories, you have the master branch and you have the feature branch. So there will be a lot of developers working in the feature branch. So with a pull request, PR, it will get merged to the master branch. But it is not going to happen immediately here with the build artifacts. If it is containerized, even after image repo, the PRs will take place, right? But PRs may take place even prior to that because everything has to be pulled to the master to build the final image, right? So those things are a bit of advanced things, how it's going to manage. Let's talk about those in detail later. For the time being, try to understand the basic flow. So you have the image repository, right? Image repository is going to be like maybe Elastic Container Register with ECR with AWS, Azure Container Registry. This is the place your container images are going to take place. Right? Most of you may not aware what is a container image at the moment. Don't worry, we have separate sessions for those things. For the time being, it just your application is packaged into an image. And when you run the image, it's going to run the application that is known as a container. So don't worry about that. It's not a big deal, right? And these images can be orchestrated in a Kubernetes environment, right? Okay. So we have, after the image being deployed, after image being built, we can have the staging where the deliverables. Here the previous one, where the deliverables going to be stored in the staging server. Then upon approval, it can go to the deployment. So after the deployment, we need to monitor the operations teams part. Actually, deployment is operation, but there is no teams now. Everybody has to work in a collaborative culture, right? So monitoring can be done. Most popular monitoring tools are there, right? Tasktalk, Prometheus, we have of course Grafana, Kiali, those things are there. A lot of tools, right? So yes, so that's the. So this is the top picture you just saw earlier. Project management aspect of it. This is the technical aspect of it. Right. Hope is clear. Hope you got the idea of what is DevOps in brief, not practically, but the overview, right? Okay, let's go further, right? And yeah, then why DevOps? That is another thing to understand. We are telling DevOps, why? Why we need to go for DevOps? So we can see very few points are here, but there are a lot of advantages, right? The pluses. What are DevOps pluses? One thing, improved monitoring, quicker service recovery. It's true. Improve monitoring, procure service recovery. You mean if something goes off, it's just a matter of just falling back to the previous release. Very easy in a containerized environment just to start the previous image. Right? Fallback is very easy. Rollback, right? Fallback is a different word in microservices design patterns, but rollback, right? Rolling back. We can monitor the with commands, so we can monitor the releases and we can get a history of things and we can roll back to the previous. Very easy, right? And it can manage, I mean, much easier than traditional software development life cycle. Right? Improve software quality. I mentioned, yeah, it is less human involvement, and again, it's automation, and continuously those things are tested, so quality is going to be high. Reduce operational cost. Definitely, yes. I know it to explain that term. Operational cost will be reduced, right? Continuous deliverable, iterative, continuous delivery and iterative deployment. This is CI/CD, right? And greater synergies between the collaborative culture, collaboration of work. Quick turnarounds, change requests. Yes, right? Because the pipeline manages everything. As the requirement comes in, just the dev has to start developing it, right? Then it's going to be in the pipelines automatically. The turnaround time is very higher, and the time to market also less, right? You're going to have a unique selling proposition is a higher grade with a higher quality. Okay, so why DevOps? And this is few reasons. You can Google and see more details. Right? Okay, all right. Then the definitions. Defining DevOps. Almost now I have mentioned these things, but just for the explanation purposes, I have given definitions from different people. The Gartner says DevOps represent a change in IT culture, focusing on rapid IT service delivery through the adaptation of agile lean practices in the context of system-oriented approach. DevOps emphasizes people and culture, and it seeks to improve collaboration between the operations and development teams. I have already mentioned. We have already discussed those things now. AWS says DevOps is a combination of cultural philosophies, practices, and tools that increases the organization's ability to deliver applications and serve at a higher velocity. Understood. Azure says a compound of development, operations, collaboration again. DevOps is the union of people, process, and technology continually provide value to customers. Yes, that's true. Definition. What does DevOps means for teams? DevOps enable formerly siloed roles, development, IT operations, quality engineering, security to coordinate and collaborate to produce better, more reliable products. We know that, already explained, no more silos. All works towards the one goal. Okay, right, clear. Go to the next one. All right, now we are coming to another interesting one, trends in 2021. So another new trends, right? So as I mentioned, this deck is going to, this presentation is going into more details, actually giving you a lot of information. So that is the objective of this introductory session, the overview, right? So what's the DevOps means, what the industry looks like, what's the future, right? What are the challenges? How can I start my career with DevOps? So this presentation has a lot, but don't worry, we can't be getting into more details with this introduction. So later we need to do more practicals on each and everything, and little by little we have to go look at it. So that is the whole vision behind this, right? Vision. Okay. So the first one, DevSecOps. I have given some details later in the slides. So the time being, the security aspect of DevOps, right? Let's discuss it later with the slides itself. Microservices architecture. Yeah, we have the microservices portal separately. Actually, this portal and that microservice portal go in hand, right? Because for DevOps, microservice is best, right? Microservice can be best deployed with DevOps because of the containerization approach. So then we have IAC, infrastructure as code, right? Because it's no longer is going to be click-based installations. We don't do double click on the setup to install something with DevOps. It's going to be infrastructure as code, right? What do you mean by that? with Terraform, Chef, Puppet, Ansible, with those tools, we need to automate the deployment of these softwares and infrastructure setup. For example, if you want to install Jenkins server, you only want to download the things and do it, right? So it's a business to be via Terraform, very basic code. It's not traditional programming. Now with Terraform, when you write a program, we can't say it's a program, right? It's going to be YAML, yet another markup language, right? So it's a specific language. Actually, Terraform uses a HashiCorp specific language, right? So we will come to that one in more detail. Very simple syntax, simple English. It's very easy, not like traditional, like the Visual Basic and C++ programming in old days. That's not the way, right? Very easy to adapt, right? It's not the programming anymore, right? So infrastructure as code. So we talk more. If you want to, it's enough easy to instance from Terraform very quickly. You can do it, right? No need to go to the console and double click and no. That takes time. This very easy. It can be done. Okay, we have CMPs, cloud management platforms for DevOps. Yes, we have Azure, even Alibaba does that, Oracle, we have, right? Salesforce, right? Google platforms are there, cloud management platforms. And we have artificial intelligence, yes, AI/ML. AI/ML. So, you know, Google Map, right? If you take a look at the Google's project to see the Earth, what's happening in each and every location in the earth, right? So they're using AI/ML for that because they have, create segments in the whole earth using tiles, right? Tiles means if you get the US, right? In US, you can get these states, right? Within the states, you have cities. So each within the city, there can be segments. So each city may contain several tiles, right? Squares, right? So each square is going to be a container which is deployed into the Kubernetes platform. And within the container, using the geographical locations, right? Longitudes and latitudes, we can find out what's happening then and there, the latest. There's a Google project already in place, right? So analytics also going to come, but it's in artificial intelligence, right? They are, I think, TensorFlow or Kubeflow, right? These are the tools anyway. Right, so just example. So let's talk about those things later. Right? So predictive analytics, just not analytics, right? Predictive analytics, totally different, right? And GitOps, yes, GitOps, Agile Ops, all new. It has been there, but yes, now it's emerging in a different way, right? Okay, so let's go to the next one, right? So yeah, industry, DevOps industry segments. We have a global DevOps market reaching in this much of revenue. You can see 2023, 9,000 US dollars, growing capital annual growth rate 18.7, very powerful, right? You can see where the industry is, the demand for DevOps. And you can see the delivery, these segments, public cloud segment, SMEs, banking and financing, and you can see in North America itself, 45% of growth in 2019, 2026. Asia Pacific going to have 25%. Overall, you can see 17 billion, very bright future. So if anyone is going to start with DevOps, they're going to have a very good career, right? We'll talk about the roles, the emerged roles in Dev. Most of you may know only the DevOps engineer role, but no longer that. We have 10 to 11 roles newly, right? So get ready for those things. Right? This channel is guiding you for those things. Right, let's go. DevSecOps, right? Yes, this is a security aspect of DevOps, right? So I have just mentioned. So for example, you can see the new things now in the CI/CD pipeline. Earlier, I just mentioned, if I go back quickly here, I can see only the quality and inspection, but between, we're going to have more analysis for security, right? Static cost analysis, composition analysis, dynamic code analysis, those things are there. Penetration testing, a lot of new things for security aspect. So it is the security aspect of DevOps. The pipeline should be integrated with those tools as well. So we'll discuss those things later, right? DevSecOps is the integration of security into DevOps practices. Okay, so the many things, right? That's why I just told you this presentation is going giving you a lot of things, but we can't be discussing everything at once, right? So just try to get an idea. These are the best practices on SecOps. So just go through a few of those things. Training and upskilling, break down barriers, silos, security champions. Because but it is just to tell you one thing, breaking down the barriers and silos with security champions, because sometimes the security aspect may be only focused with the security desk within the project environment. So we can say, okay, they are the security, they are responsible for security, but with DevOps, SecOps is no longer like that. It's no longer like that. Every person in the collaboration culture in DevOps is responsible for security. So that's why silos with security champions is breaking off. Everybody, right? Training and guidance will be given separately, security aspect, but everybody is responsible for something like that. That's what just explaining. Just a basic explain for the first one. We'll see more detail later. And another one, we can see pre-deployment auditing, post-deployment auditing, dynamic DAS, dynamics application scanning tool, secret management with Vault, yes, with HashiCorp, with Kubernetes, automated host hardening, secure communication with between services, with microservices in DevOps, with containerization. We have Istio service mesh and MPLS communication, encrypted communication, a lot of things, right, for security. Okay, right. So comes to agile ops. I think we have a next session from here on. It's almost gone for more than 40 minutes nearly, I think. So I'll stop here and I'll start the session 2 from this place onwards, agile ops. I think that's better. Okay, so if you like the video, just subscribe to it, and any comments, any questions, you can put in the video, and I have given the email as well. So let me stop here, and we will meet soon in the session 2 of this industry overview for DevOps. Right. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye.